In World War II, the SS was already considered the most feared military organization in human history. They ran the death camps. They carried out the Holocaust. They answered only to Hitler himself. But there was one unit, one single unit, that even the SS couldn't stomach. Officers who had personally overseen mass executions filed formal complaints about these men. Commanders who had burnt entire villages begged to have them removed. This is the story of the Dirlewanger Brigade, and it gets much darker than you're imagining right now.
To understand how low this unit went, you need to understand the bar they had to sink beneath. The SS, the Schutzstaffel, was Himmler's personal army, ideologically fanatical, brutally disciplined. They considered themselves the pure elite of Nazi Germany. They ran Auschwitz. They commanded death squads across occupied Europe. These were not men with soft stomachs. So when SS commanders started filing written complaints, formal, documented complaints about another SS unit being too extreme, that should tell you everything. The unit they were complaining about hadn't even fully formed yet.
It all starts with one man, Oskar Dirlewanger. He fought in World War I, earned the Iron Cross, and came back convinced that violence was the only language that mattered. He joined the Nazi Party in 1923, got a doctorate in political science, worked at a bank, seemed like a man finding his footing. Then, in 1934, a German court convicted him of sexually assaulting a minor. The Nazi Party, an organization actively building death camps, expelled him. His university stripped his doctorate. He lost everything. But Dirlewanger had a friend inside the SS named Gottlob Berger. And Berger believed broken, dangerous men weren't problems. They were tools. He just needed to find the right job for one. The idea, on paper, was tactical. Germany was moving across Eastern Europe, and partisan resistance was a constant problem. Fighters hiding in forests, sabotaging supply lines. Himmler had a thought. What if you used convicted poachers, men who knew forests, men who could track and hunt? Give them a chance to earn their freedom by hunting partisans instead of deer. In July 1940, the unit was officially formed at Sachsenhausen concentration camp. 80 convicted poachers were selected. Dirlewanger was placed in command, not despite his criminal record, but in some ways because of it. The unit was called the Wilddieb Kommando, the Poacher Command. It would not stay a unit of poachers for long. They ran out of poachers fast, so Dirlewanger opened the door wider. First came men convicted of burglary, then assault, then arson, then premeditated murder. The unit began absorbing the worst of Germany's prison population, men so dangerous that even the regular military wouldn't take them. There were murderers serving life sentences, the criminally insane pulled from institutions, and SS men who had been fired from other units for excessive brutality. Think about that. Men considered too violent for the regular SS, and now they had weapons, uniforms, and a commander who told them there were no rules. British historian Martin Windrow described them as a terrifying rabble of cutthroats, renegades, sadistic morons, and cashiered rejects. And that description, by most accounts, was being generous. In September 1940, the unit was sent to Lublin, Poland, for guard duty. What happened almost immediately defined them for the rest of the war. Reports started coming in within weeks. Looting, beatings of civilians, murder of people with no connection to any resistance. These weren't battlefield reports. These were formal complaints filed by other Nazi officials, men who had themselves ordered mass killings, saying the Dirlewanger unit operated with zero discipline and zero boundaries. Friedrich Wilhelm Kruger, the SS police commander for the region, himself a documented war criminal, was so disturbed that he formally requested. In Belarus, their assignment was anti-partisan operations. They had a method. Their signature? Herd civilians into barns, lock them inside, set the barn on fire, station soldiers outside so that anyone who tried to escape was shot. Entire villages, men,
women, elderly. They made no distinction between partisans and farmers. They didn't try. Historians estimate the brigade killed at least 30,000 civilians in Belarus. Some estimates reach 120,000, and destroyed approximately 200 villages. All while SS commanders continued to file. Here's what makes this unit uniquely disturbing, even within the history of the Third Reich. It wasn't one or two officers who found them unconscionable. Multiple senior SS commanders across multiple countries, across multiple years, put their objections in writing. Erich von dem Bach, the SS commander overseeing Belarus, himself later tried at Nuremberg as a war criminal, reportedly called the Dirlewanger men a herd of pigs. SS legal officers opened formal investigations multiple times. Wehrmacht generals who served near them repeatedly asked for the unit to be dissolved. And every single time, the complaints went nowhere. Because at the very top of the Nazi chain, there were men who saw the Dirlewanger Brigade. August 1944, Warsaw, Poland. The Polish underground launches an uprising against German occupation, one of the largest resistance operations in all of occupied Europe. Himmler sends in the Dirlewanger Brigade to suppress it. What happened in Warsaw's Wola district in the first days of that uprising is documented as among the worst civilian massacres of the entire war. Historians estimate the Dirlewanger unit killed between 30,000 and 40,000 civilians in the Wola massacre in a matter of days. Resistance fighters, hospital patients, nurses. The criteria for who was targeted by multiple historical accounts was essentially anyone present. Even Wehrmacht soldiers fighting in the same city filed reports about what they were witnessing. The Wola massacre is now recognized as one of the single largest mass killings of civilians in a single operation during all of World War II. By this point, even Himmler, who personally shielded Dirlewanger for years, was forced to act. Not because of the civilian deaths, not because of the massacres, but because the Dirlewanger men had become so chaotic and uncontrollable that Himmler had to send a battalion of SS military police specifically to prevent the Dirlewanger soldiers from turning on other German units. Let that register. They had to send police to police the police. The men were so unpredictable that their own side feared them. And yet Himmler still didn't shut them down. He sent them to Slovakia next, because the machine still needed them. By early 1945, the war was collapsing. The Soviet Red Army closed in from the east. The Dirlewanger Brigade was redesignated a full division, though it never came close to actual division strength. Sent to hold the Eastern Front, they suffered catastrophic losses against the Soviets. Not surprising for a unit built on chaos rather than discipline. Dirlewanger himself was wounded near Berlin and captured by French forces in May 1945. He died in French custody shortly after, reportedly beaten to death by Polish guards assigned to watch him. He was 50 years old. The last commander of one of the unit's subformations was reportedly hanged by his own men in the chaos of the German collapse. The unit that feared nothing except order ended in disorder. Historians have written that the Dirlewanger Brigade was not an aberration. It was an extreme expression of something already present in the system. The Nazi machine didn't create these men's violence. It authorized it, protected it, and pointed it at civilian populations because doing so served strategic goals. French historian Christian Ingres concluded the unit committed the worst atrocities of the Second World War. American historian Timothy Snyder called them responsible for more atrocities than any other single unit. They were what happens when an institution removes every moral boundary and tells dangerous men there are no consequences. The complaints from SS officers didn't stop the brigade, but they do. The Dirlewanger Brigade officially ceased to exist in the final weeks of World War II. Their crimes are documented in Nuremberg transcripts, Polish historical archives, Soviet military records, and German military court documents. The civilians they killed across Poland, Belarus, and Warsaw are counted in the tens of thousands at minimum. The true number may never be fully known. If you want more stories like this, History that doesn't look away from what humans are capable of and what institutions protect when no one is watching? Subscribe, because there are more